Messi, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and the top 6 greatest individual football peaks of all time. Hello, and welcome to LM10 vs CR7 Galaxy. Today we will be looking at the greatest individual peaks in football history. So basically, the best players in history, whilst they were in their prime. There have been many great players in the history of football. Some are amongst the top 10 greatest football players of all time. However, there are some players who played incredibly for only about 1 or 2 years, and due to this, they aren't considered to be amongst, let's say, the top 10 greatest football players of all time. Perhaps the reason for this was because they didn't play long enough, or weren't consistent enough, or didn't play at a top level for long enough. In this video that brings to you the greatest football players of all time, at their peak, some aren't necessarily amongst the top 10 greatest football players of all time, yet they were absolutely incredible and were almost unmatched in their prime. Let's get straight to the list. At number 6, we have Ricardo Kaká 2006-2007. If you create a list of the top 10 greatest football players in history, perhaps Kaká wouldn't appear in it. Even if you create a list of the top 20 greatest football players in history, perhaps he might not appear in it as well. However, if you make a list of the greatest players in history in their prime, it is impossible to leave out Kaká of the 2006-07 season at AC Milan. He was an absolute beast of a player in the 2006-07 season, scoring 18 goals and providing 11 assists in all competitions, while leading AC Milan to the UEFA Champions League title, where he scored 10 of his 18 goals. Let's not look too much into his stats that season. Perhaps 18 goals and 11 assists a season doesn't seem to be much, but that's what makes things even more interesting. Despite his stats, his overall performance throughout the season, especially in the Champions League, is one of the greatest you could ever see. His performances were standout throughout the tournament. He was a menace for the defenses in Europe regardless of the team he was playing against. Against Bayern Munich in the quarter-finals, he would score just 1 goal and provide 1 assist in both legs, but his overall gameplay was on another level. Against Manchester United in the semi-finals, he produced some of his best ever performance, and also some of the greatest ever performance, scoring 3 goals in both legs, and was a menace to United's defense throughout both games. He was also incredible in the finals, providing an assist, and leading AC Milan to the Champions League title. Throughout the 2006-07 season, Kaká was at a level that not too many can match in football history. He was simply world-class, and his exploits were rewarded with a Ballon d'Or at the end of the year. Coming in 5th, Cristiano Ronaldo, 2007-08, 2011-12, 2014-2017. Unlike many players in their prime, Cristiano Ronaldo had quite a few times where he could be considered to have been at his peak. Being a player who has been very consistent throughout his career, it's no surprise at all that there are different points in time where many considered his peak or prime. The first one came during his Manchester United days, the 2007-08 season. Many hardly consider this season when discussing Cristiano Ronaldo's prime, but for me it can absolutely be considered one of his primes. At this point, Ronaldo at least could be considered a true complete player, unlike later in his career. He was a beast throughout the season, scoring 42 goals and assisting 8 times in all competitions, while spearheading Man United to the Premier League and Champions League titles. He was incredible throughout this season, and was a well-rounded player. This season can easily be considered one of the best ever in the Premier League. Then we have Cristiano Ronaldo 2011-12 season. In my opinion, this is where Cristiano was at his absolute peak, and one of the greatest in history. Many may disagree, but this season, Ronaldo was everything a player could be. He was at his peak in terms of strength, in terms of speed, in terms of scoring goals, be it shooting from outside the box, free kicks, headers, and his dribbling had not declined one bit since his Manchester United days. This season he would score 60 goals in all competitions, leading Real Madrid to the league title. Then we have from 2014 till 2017, a period I consider to be another of Ronaldo's peak. For me this period is slightly inferior to the 2011-12 season, but this was the period he dominated the Champions League, so it can't be left out. He would win 3 Champions League titles in 4 years during this period, while scoring 17 goals, 16 goals and 15 goals in the 2013-14, 2015-16 and 2017-18 season of the Champions League respectively. He would also produce his best ever Champions League knockout performances in a season in the 2016-17 season, where he would destroy every team, to lead Real Madrid to the title. Perhaps he wasn't that good in the league and other tournaments, but during this period he was incredible in the Champions League. Overall, Cristiano Ronaldo can be considered to have had one of the greatest individual primes in football history. Number 4, Ronaldinho 2005-2006. A player that isn't talked about too much when considering the greatest football players in history, but when the conversation of the greatest footballing peaks is discussed, he absolutely can never be left out. Ronaldinho, a player considered to have had one of the greatest individual peaks of any footballer in history in the 2005-06 season. Perhaps, his peak was only short-lived, because immediately after this period, he was on a rapid decline. In the 2005-06 season, Ronaldinho was at an otherworldly level for FC Barcelona. The things he did are unmatched throughout history. The sheer entertainment, skills and tricks, was something else entirely. He was basically unplayable throughout the season, scoring goals for fun, passing for fun, dribbling for fun, and putting smiles on people's faces for fun. He managed to score 26 goals and provided 24 assists in all competitions that season, but stats alone can't do justice to what he did. He led Barcelona to the Champions League and league titles, and was a menace to defenses throughout the season. One interesting thing to note is that, despite his peak being very short-lived, lasting for 2 seasons at most, he is still considered to be amongst the top 10 greatest football players of all time. For this to be possible, it can only mean, he was so good in his prime that, the other periods in his career were basically ignored. In my opinion, this is absolutely fair, because, he was indeed a beast of a player in his prime, and very few players in history can boast to have better peaks. Diego Maradona, 1986. Diego Maradona was an incredible player throughout his career and is arguably the greatest football player of all time. However, his true peak came in the year 1986. His gameplay this year was on a level that has hardly been matched throughout history. He was a beast for Napoli, and won for Argentina in the 1986 FIFA World Cup. He captained the Argentine national team to victory in the 1986 World Cup in Mexico, winning the final in Mexico City against West Germany. Throughout the tournament, he asserted his dominance and was the most dynamic player of the competition, scoring, dribbling, playmaking, assisting, etc. He played every minute of every Argentina game, scoring 5 goals and providing 5 assists. During the tournament, Maradona attempted or created more than half of Argentina's shots, attempted a tournament best 90 dribbles, 3 times more than any other player, and was fouled a record 53 times, winning his team twice as many free kicks as any player. He scored or assisted 10 of Argentina's 14 goals, 71%, including the assist for the winning goal in the final, ensuring that he would be remembered as one of the greatest names in football history. By the end of the World Cup, Maradona went on to win the Golden Ball as the best player of the tournament by unanimous vote and was widely regarded to have won the World Cup virtually single-handedly, something that he later stated he did not entirely agree with. Even though he denied, we can't help but admit that he basically carried Argentina by himself, and this World Cup performance will hardly ever be replicated. Aside from his World Cup performance, he also led Napoli to their first ever Serie A title, being the most influential player throughout the season. This is without a doubt one of the greatest footballing peaks. Coming in second, Ronaldo Nazario, 1996-1997. Ronaldo moved to Barcelona while still a teenager in the summer of 1996 and interestingly enough, played his last game for the club by May 1997. However, during this short period of time, he played the game like nobody had played it before. He was named the world's best player by FIFA in both years. Ronaldo was absolutely sensational in 1996 and 1997. Because of the levels he reached during this period, there are actually many people who are of the opinion that he has the greatest footballing prime in history. He was a complete striker in every sense of the word. He was incredibly fast, very strong, could score at the highest level, and dribble at the highest level. During the 1996-1997 season for FC Barcelona, he managed to score 47 goals, and provide 12 assists in all competitions, at just 21 years of age. Crazy stats for someone that young. To put that into some sort of context, neither Cristiano Ronaldo nor Lionel Messi, who are two of the greatest goal scorers in football history, managed 20 goals in a season before their 21st birthday, let alone nearly 50. There was a reason why they called him El Fenomeno. This was a season of extraordinary highs and maddening distractions in a hectic haze of hype and hysteria. He wowed the crowds, but they whistled him too. The drama was endless. The speculation constant. It was a career crammed into a year. Due to injury, however, which he sustained in early 1998, this level of football was short-lived, and despite showing glimpses of his brilliance again, especially in the 2002 World Cup, he still wasn't able to match those heights. Despite this, he is still considered amongst the greatest football players of all time. Coming in first position, we have Lionel Messi, 2009 to 2012, 2014-15 and 2018-19. Unlike many players, due to the consistency he's displayed throughout his career, and playing at a top level for more than a decade, Lionel Messi has had several peaks. In all honesty, many are confused when it comes to choosing the best one. Some say it is the period between 2009 and 2012. During this period, Messi was at the absolute peak of his powers in terms of everything you can ever think of in football, from dribbling, to passing, to goal scoring, to explosiveness, etc. He was so explosive that many considered him a madman. In terms of stats, he was at the highest level in history, scoring the most goals and assisting the most, especially in 2012, where he scored 91 goals, the most by any player in a single calendar year. And the 2011-12 season, where he scored 73 goals, the most by any player in a single season. Then during this period he also registered the most assists in a year, in 2011 with 36, and in a season, in the 2011-12 season with 29 assists. These stats have never been matched. Interestingly enough, because of his goals, people tend to ignore his other football aspects. In the 2010-11 season he completed the most dribbles, with over 250 dribbles, the most by any player in a single season. He dominated every single aspect of the game, from goal scoring, to passing, to dribbling. This period is considered by many to be unmatched throughout history, and thus the greatest peak of any footballer in history. However, many think this wasn't his true peak. Some consider the 2014-15 season to be his true peak, and some consider the 2018-19 season to be his true peak. In the 2014-15 season, Messi returned to his absolute best, and even became better in some aspects of his game, like playmaking, which is basically controlling the game. With Xavi and Iniesta no longer at their peak, the responsibility fell on his shoulders, yet he managed to do it even better than they did when they were at their best. Despite being an incredible playmaker, his dribbling and goal scoring wasn't much inferior to the 2009-2012 period. Throughout the season, especially the second half, he played at a level that can be considered to be unmatched in history. Then we have the 2018-19 season, which some consider to be his true peak. The main reason is that, at this point, he had become the true definition of a complete player. He had added and perfected even more aspects to his game, whilst not being inferior at all in the others. At this point, he had become a free kick specialist, as well as an outside-the-box goals specialist, being amongst the best of all time at them. These two, including all the other footballing aspects where he was still at his best, is the reason many consider this to be his true prime. Not forgetting the fact that he basically carried Barcelona on his back throughout the season. He was something else entirely. Many may have different opinions regarding his true peak, but there's no denying that he has possibly the greatest footballing peak of any player in history. But what are your thoughts on this? Which player or players in history have played at the highest level possible? Make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments. Do not forget to subscribe for more awesome football content. Thanks for watching, and see you later.